$84 trillion is set to change hands over the next 20 years. Whether you're passing it down or inheriting it, the decisions you make today will shape your family's financial future for generations. Welcome to the Great Wealth Transfer, where David Pulcini, CFP, guides you through the strategies, insights, and pitfalls of navigating one of the largest financial shifts in history. What you don't know could redefine your legacy.
What is Bitcoin? Have you heard of it before? Most people have heard the word Bitcoin, but very few people can explain what it actually is or why it even matters. And honestly, that is not their fault. Tech people, yes, I'm talking to you, my friends, love to overcomplicate things. Okay, so today I want to break it down in the simplest way that I possibly can, as little jargon as possible. Hopefully a clear explanation of what Bitcoin is, how it works, how to use it, and even bigger picture, whether it's a threat to the US dollar and the difference between money and currency, which is a really important concept. So first I want to start with what exactly is Bitcoin, and we're going to call it Bitcoin is digital money, but with a major difference. It's not controlled by a bank. It's not controlled by a government or any single company. Instead, and this is where it gets complicated quickly, millions of computers around the world verify transactions. Okay, so that's where we get the word decentralized. It's decentralized, and it runs on something called the blockchain. Okay, so bear with me through this. But that's basically a giant public spreadsheet where no one can cheat. Okay, why was Bitcoin created? It came out around 2009, right after the financial crisis, and it was designed as a way for people to send and store value without relying on a bank or a government. Okay, so think of it like this. Think of it like being able to hand someone a $20 bill, but digitally and without a middleman. Okay, so how does it actually work? So the blockchain is a public ledger that records every transaction. It's permanent, it's transparent, it's secure. Think of that spreadsheet. Okay, mining. Okay, we hear this term mining, and we might even have heard of somebody that's trying to do it or local institutions that do it. Mining is just computers that solve math problems to verify those transactions on that spreadsheet. And as a reward for verifying it and keeping things secure, new Bitcoin is created, and that's how the supply enters into the system. Okay, and then ownership. You don't actually hold a physical coin, even though that's what it's called. You hold a digital key, a lot of zeros and ones, that proves the Bitcoin is yours. Okay, I want to talk about money versus currency and why this matters. So this is a concept that I haven't heard anybody explain, and it makes Bitcoin, I believe, much easier to understand. Currency, okay, currency is what you spend. It's the medium of exchange that we use in everyday life. That would be dollars. It would be euros, yen, swiping your debit card. It could be Venmo, PayPal, okay? For it to be currency, it has to be spendable. It has to be stable, widely accepted, usually fast, okay? And then there's money, right? Okay, so talking about currency. Now what is money? Money is where you store value over time. So good money holds its value. So an example of money, again, different from currency, could be gold, real estate, stocks, even artwork, right? Something could be money without being a good currency. Gold is a perfect example. It's great money, but terrible currency. You're not shaving off pieces of a gold bar at Wegmans, right, to buy a Diet Coke or something, okay? But it's worth something, okay? So where does Bitcoin fit? Bitcoin today functions much more like money than it does currency, okay? It's scarce. It's hard to counterfeit. It can't be printed. It can be stored long term, but here's the thing. It's too volatile. It's actually too slow and too unpredictable currently to be used as everyday currency. And that's the key difference. Bitcoin is money, but it's not yet currency, okay? And that's why most people treat it as an investment, okay? So let me talk about this real quick. Why do people see Bitcoin as valuable? Number one, it's scarce, like I said. There will only be 21 million Bitcoins ever made, ever printed. There is no printing. I shouldn't even say the word printed. There's no printing more, which will keep down that inflation that we always hear about. If there's only 21 million, inflation is not a thing anymore, okay? Security. Bitcoin is secure. The network, we always say this, right? It's never been hacked. Individual accounts can be hacked, or you can lose your hard drive, right? Or you can lose your Bitcoin. But the system itself has been solid since the start, over 15 years, okay? And it's global. One Bitcoin is the same in New York as it is in Tokyo or London or wherever you might be. And last here, I'll say it's like digital gold. It's something you store, you save, and you hold long term, okay? I told you at the beginning I want to talk about how do we actually use Bitcoin. So most people think Bitcoin is supposed to be used like daily money, but here's the truth. You can spend Bitcoin, but almost nobody does. And again, for the reasons that I mentioned, why don't they spend Bitcoin? Number one, it's volatile. Your Bitcoin could be worth more or less tomorrow. It's slow. Transactions take about 10 minutes, not 1 second, like using our debit card or tapping the credit card, right? People treat it like an investment, not spending money. It's, again, like gold, stocks, or real estate. You don't use it to buy sandwiches or anything else, right? So last year, how do we hold Bitcoin? Bitcoin is held in exchanges like Coinbase that are easy, they're intuitive. It's similar to a brokerage account or an investment, okay? It can also be held in a wallet, and we call it a wallet. Don't think of your normal wallet. This is a hardware or digital, okay? It's secure, but you do have to protect your password and don't lose it, right? Most long-term holders buy Bitcoin and simply store it, sometimes for years, believing it will be worth more later, okay? And I want to answer this. Is Bitcoin a threat to the US dollar? And the short answer is no, not today. The dollar is the world's reserve currency, okay? Most global trade still runs through the US dollars. Bitcoin is just nowhere near that scale yet, okay? The government also controls the financial system. So you pay taxes in dollars. You settle debts in dollars. The Federal Reserve manages monetary policy. Bitcoin cannot replace those functions, okay? And again, it's too volatile. The currency must be stable. The dollar may inflate slowly, but it doesn't swing 20% in a week. And as of this recording, I believe it just happened, okay? And then Bitcoin is more of a complement to the US dollar. Again, it's just like gold didn't replace the dollar. Bitcoin is not replacing it either. It sits alongside it as an alternative asset. So could it become more relevant? Absolutely. But the dollar probably isn't going anywhere in our lifetime. All right. Then the question is, should I buy Bitcoin or should you buy Bitcoin? And here's the neutral advisor perspective. Bitcoin is speculative, but becoming more mainstream. So if you want to own it, and here's the disclaimers, right? Typically, we want to limit it to maybe 1 to 5% of your portfolio. It certainly needs to be treated as a long-term investment. And in that part of the portfolio, be prepared for big swings. Don't rely on Bitcoin for short-term spending, okay? And if you don't buy it, you're not missing a required investment. You can have an excellent retirement without ever touching cryptocurrencies, as we know, okay? So Bitcoin, in conclusion here, it isn't magic and it isn't a scam. It's simply a new form of money built for the digital world, but it is still too young to be used as everyday currency. So hopefully this helped clear things up. Hopefully this helps you and adds some value. If you want a clear roadmap for retirement or help understanding how Bitcoin fits into your own plan, just connect with us at 6 Point. Find me on any social media. And for now, make it a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Great Wealth Transfer Podcast. If this podcast resonates with you, reach out to 6 Point Financial Partners at 585-485-6048 or email dpulcini at 6pointfp.com.
Content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Results will vary. Past performance is no indication of future results or success. Market conditions change continuously. Information here is provided in part by third-party sources. These sources are generally deemed to be reliable. However, neither 6 Point Financial Partners, Private Client Services, nor RFG Advisory guarantee the accuracy of third-party sources. The views expressed here are those of 6 Point Financial Partners. They do not necessarily represent those of Private Client Services, RFG Advisory, their employees, or their clients. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by 6 Point Financial Partners or RFG Advisory, or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Securities offered by registered representatives through Private Client Services. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory LLC, RFG Advisory, or RFG. A registered investment advisor. Private Client Services, 6 Point Financial Partners, and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place.